So it's come to this. The last episode of GARO, Chapter of the Black Wolf. And it's a pretty good episode. So we get a lot to unpack here. First off, Zero defeats Gom, which is pretty awesome because he has the help of Gonza, who shows up and gets one of his swords after Gom knocks away one of them. And it's pretty cool because until Gom asks if he can wield soul metal, he actually was able to at least hold it up. And he was still able to slide it along the floor so that Ray could kill her. Yeah, it was a great scene. Gonzo becomes more and more of a favorite character of mine as the series progresses. Mostly because... Sorry, I was looking at something on my TV. Mostly because... You know what? I just realized I left my fan on. Hold on a second. I'm going to turn my fan down. Because I just realized there's probably a lot of noise. Okay, sorry about that. Alright, anyway. Back to what I was saying. Gonzo becomes a lot more of an interesting character for me, especially in Makai no Hana, where he is much more of an important member of the team. He progressively becomes more and more of a popular character for me, just because he's very much like Alfred for Batman, which, to be fair, I kind of see Koga as Japanese Batman, so, you know. But yeah, no, it was really cool because both Kaoru and Koga and Ray get help from the other two main characters to defeat the bad guys in this. Koga, of course, is still fighting Messia, who is still nude, so if nudity bothers you, do not watch this episode. But, you know, whatever. And Messia is, you know, she's the god of horrors. She is trouncing him. And to make matters worse, everywhere she steps creates cracks that summon more horrors from them. And Koga is almost overwhelmed until Kaoru gets visited by her mother and father in the weird Makai limbo she's in. Which, it's never really made clear if that was actually them or if it was some sort of illusion created by her thoughts, as the place allows you to make thoughts real. But basically her father says, you know, Taiga told me that I'm not a swordsman, even though that feels like I can't do anything. If I can paint a picture, I'm doing something because that is what I was meant to do. So Kaoru finally makes the picture of Garo with wings, and in doing so, allows the Garo armor to take on a new temporary form. This will happen every time a Garo fights a bad guy towards the end of the series. Due to some sort of power or ability of the Garo, it will allow the armor to take on a new form. And in this state, and this is the first one of those that we have, this is Winged Garo. Basically, it's just the Garo armor with wings, but it seems to give Koga a lot of power, and just enough power that he is able to defeat Messia, which will come into play in the next season, the fact that he was able to defeat Messia. And I'll get more into that actually in the movies, because that'll actually come up a little bit more too, because it'll play more into season 2, and I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the movies. But yeah, he defeats Messia, and we get the first time we hear the catchphrase of Garo, which is Waganara Garo Ogon Kishida, which means my name is Garo, I am the Gold Knight. It's kind of an interesting thing because here and anywhere else Garo uses that phrase, it usually is important and it means something as the way they use it. Here, Messia is like, how could you have defeated me? You are just a mere human. And Koga's like, I'm not a mere human, I am Garo. If I could not defeat you, no Makai Knight could defeat you. But that is why I am Garo, because I'm the Golden Knight. I have to be able to do things that no other Makai Knight can do. Like I said, we'll explore this more in Season 2 and Red Requiem, but basically, here we're seeing that, you know, Garo means more than just being a Golden Knight. It is kind of important to the Makai Knights in general. So, yeah. And so, you know, Koga defeats Messia, and then she implodes and turns into like a black hole. Because why not? Because Tokusatsu. and it's like she and Kiba, the armor, try to drag him down, but he's saved by Kaoru, and then they get out of the Stargate ring that they came out of, and she's still in her bride outfit, but later at the end of the episode when they catch up with Koga, she's wearing completely different clothes. Obviously meaning that it was shot way before the rest of it was shot. Because they get into another fight right after this. I'll just stay here. They get into another fight after they defeat Messi and everything seems like it's all right. But and the fight goes on for only like a couple of minutes, real time. I'm like, how did she have enough time to change clothes? And they get back and they get to where the fight ended. I mean, obviously she probably changed in the car because Gonza can drive. Gonza has a car. We see that at the end of the show. Which again, my whole complaint about why does Koga run everywhere if he has a car or someone that can drive him places, but whatever. And again, in season 2, he drives a car. But it's one of those things. But yeah, turns out Kiba's still not dead. And it's not Barugo or his professor personality. It's literally the armor. The armor has become sentient and wants to kill Rei and Koga and Kaoru for foiling Messia's plans. And for some reason, I guess because the gate's going out of control, they can't summon their armors. So Zaruba has Rei or Koga throw him into a rift before the rift they use to summon the armors before it fades away completely. And the Stargate suddenly grows massive, and Koga and Kiba and Rei fight on it as it flies through the air. I know there's some reviewers that find that ludicrous, but I watch Tokusatsu a lot, and all Toku has really ludicrous things happen in it every once in a while. You know, I watched a series where a kid uses a magic spacesuit that's powered by cosmic energy to fight people that turn into constellations via magic switches, and they have a secret base on the moon that they can access through a magic locker. You know, this is not the weirdest thing I've ever seen in Toku. And I know a lot of people are like, well, the physics, and I'm like, yeah, but Garo is supposed to be kind of like a fantasy show, so I don't really mind the fact that they're like the weird physics of them being able to stay on this ring as it flies through the air, and then later we'll spin and roll down a road, and somehow Koga and Kiba can stay on it without like their feet frictioning off. I'd assume because magic. I mean, Koga is wearing a magic outfit, and Kiba's a giant magic sentient armor. But yeah, I really won't go in much into the fight just because, I don't really feel like describing a fight is really something you guys want to see. You just want me to talk about my feelings about it. And you know, like I said, there's like 3 fights here, and this is really the last one. And I feel like a lot of people be like, well, shouldn't Messia be, since it was the bigger threat? This is technically Garo chapter of the Black Wolf, so it really should be fitting that the last fight should be against Garo versus Kiba the Black Wolf. But yeah, and again, Kiba is basically just kicking Koga's butt and Rei's. Like, Rei does try to help, and then he gets knocked out of the fight pretty quickly. and just when everything seems hopeless, Zaruba and his angels from the Taiga episode, which I thought were fake, but like this here is like they're real. I don't know. Maybe like they can only come out when Zaruba connects himself to the rift. It's never really made clear. They bring down the armor, but in a different form. And we get yet another form of Garo. This one being the Master Armor. Essentially, to me, it's the Garo armor without its limiters on, and which can only be done by Zaruba merging himself with a rift in order to bring the armor in its strongest form. Basically, it's just the Garo armor with a cape, look-wise, but, and this is the part that I really like, it allows Koga to use the soul of every Garo who has worn the armor throughout history to increase his power. And it's awesome, because basically, it allows him to defeat Kiba with only 2 sword strokes. He defeats him with 2 slashes. Like, it's so cool. It's one of my favorite moments because A, I like the Garo armor with a cape. And B, it's just kind of cool after seeing Koga struggle so much against Kiba that him and Zardoba are able to do so using their teamwork. At a cost, unfortunately. This part is the part that I'm not, the only part of this episode I really am not okay with, and that's just the fact that Zardoba dies. Apparently, like, merging with the rift broke him too much, and he basically cracks to pieces and falls apart off Koga's finger. And I wouldn't mind it if Ray didn't get the Western Watchdog to make him a new Zardoba. Like, it's sad, but then, like in the epilogue, like, not a minute after that, Ray shows up and is like, hey, we got Zardoba fixed, but he doesn't have any memories of you. Yeah, basically, Zardoba has his abilities now, but he doesn't have any memories of Taiga or Koga or anything, like, before he was broken. Which I think was more set up for, like, for later seasons so that you can be like, why doesn't Zardoba ever mention any other previous Garos, and, like, you know, maybe every once in a while he broke or he got old and they had to fix him, and in doing so he lost his memories. It's one of those things that doesn't sit with me very well, because after this we will have a lot of episodes where, like, they'll reference this series and Zardoba's like, I don't remember that. And despite the fact that Zardoba is supposed to be, like, the character that, you know, we see in every season of Garo, aside from, like, actually no one else, because, like, he's one of the few characters that you get from generation to generation of this show. But anyway, and so the series ends with Kaoru deciding she's going to go to Italy to study to improve her art. Koga and Gonzo are going to the Northern District until the Senate sorts out what they're going to do with him, which I think he does return back to this place after in season 2, but because he goes back to the Seijima mansion, so I assume he gets to go back, but it's never really completely stated whether or not he's back in his district. Ray is to look over the Western and Eastern District, and Koga's off to the Northern District with a gift from Kaoru. And it's a really, really touching scene because, like, you can clearly tell Koga and Kaoru don't want to say goodbye, but they both know they're going to meet each other again. Especially because at the end of the end of the episode, when they do at the end of the credits, like, Kaoru's like, yeah, no, this isn't the only story between me and the Golden Knight. And so, you know, Koga's off in the Northern District, and he gets attacked by something, and that's how the episode ends. And I'm not going to even try to get you all hyped up for that, because it goes nowhere, and because Beast of the Midnight Sun does not open on them in the Northern District. It's just this thing. But there is one more note I want to talk about, because it'll play into the second season and will be referenced again in the fourth season. That of the gift that Kaoru gives Koga, which is the picture book, but with an ending that we don't see. He reads the book, and there's this ending scene, and Koga thinks of Kaoru, and he tears up a little and cries, and Gonzo's like, what's wrong? He's like, it's nothing. They never actually show us what's on the last page of that particular picture book. To me, it's I always think it's okay. Basically the last page is always blank in those books, as we'd been established, and the whole idea being that, like, you know, what awaits the knight after his journey is done, and there is no one true meaning because it's different for every knight. And so basically my idea is that for Kaoru, her interpretation of that is, you know, like, it's what awaits Koga, and that is her. You know, that she'll always be there for him no matter what. But otherwise, they never really show what it is. My guess is it's probably her holding Koga's hand, or, like, this picture, this drawing version of her that we'll see in Makai Senki. At the end of every episode of Makai Senki, we see a different page of this picture book Kaoru is making in that season, and it's always of this girl who has a flying wing that's like a quill, basically to be her paintbrush, and this little girl that looks kind of like Kaoru. And in a few of them, they will show her embracing a golden knight, which is the drawing, the GARO drawing that her father and her draw all the time. I actually found a really neat picture someone made where it was a Kaoru version of GARO Zero and the Makai Knight that we'll see in the next season. That was, and I also wondered if maybe it was that, but I really truly think that it's a picture of her welcoming Koga home. But like I said, it's very much up in the air what exactly he's crying about. It could be that, or it could be just how much he knows he's going to miss Kaoru while she's over in Italy. But otherwise, that's how the episode ends, and it's a really good ending. Like I said, Chapter of the Black Wolf has its problems for me, mainly in the fact that, like, there are stuff they don't explain and stuff they explain too much. The fact that Koga doesn't really change much. He changes enough, but there are flaws in his changing, particularly the fact that he doesn't learn his lesson about not telling Kaoru things. That's going to come back and bite him in the next season. The fact that, like, sometimes the series relies way too much on misunderstandings that no one wants to explain to anyone, particularly with Rei. However, I really do think this is a good season. I think that if you really want to start with anything, you either start with this or Red Requiem. And then you do Makai Senki. Because this is where a lot of ground gets set for the GARO series as a whole. You know, that of the Makai Knight, what it means, like the fact that the show always explores what it means to be a knight, to be a protector, the various themes that play out throughout the season and such. And it's just really good, and there's great action. Well, I admit the CGI for the time, this was 2005, hasn't aged completely well. There are still really good CGI moments in it, particularly GARO whenever he's riding on Goten, whenever they have to make the Makai fire, stuff like that. And like I said, the other thing is it's very much a Monster of the Week series. And there are seasons of this show where it's just Monster of the Week that reflects on the episode's, like, B-plot. You know, it's not... You don't get, like, a serialized, like, one episode leads to the next until Season 3. And even then, it's really only Season 3. Season 5 kind of is pseudo Monster of the Week / leading into, like, doing a serialized thing. But... you know, it is what it is. The show has, again, really great design work, really great choreography, really great actors. And I know a lot of people think Koga's really flat and wooden, but I think that was the point, because he's supposed to be stoic. Rei, of course, is, like, the best character of this show, and he will continue to be my favorite character throughout the rest of this in Season 2. But yeah, you know, like, I really cannot recommend this series enough. It's going to be released on Blu-ray with subtitles. It's I think November or October. That was my computer. But yeah, I really recommend getting Season 1 because, you know, I think if you really want something interesting and you want something that's Power Rangers but more mature, you know, if you want that kind of show but with a little bit more maturity, you should get this show. But yeah, and so that's really it for Chapter of the Black Wolf. We do have some movies. The first one being Beast of the Midnight Sun, which is really kind of more like a special. It was originally 2 episodes that, when re-aired, they went together as a movie. But basically, it's really more like the finale to Chapter of the Black Wolf. Then we'll have Red Requiem, which is basically the start of Makai Senki, but it's supposed to come before Makai Senki, so that's why we watch it first. The Kiba mini, which it sets up stuff in Makai Senki, but it's really weird and kind of a little too artsy. But yeah, like I said, these were all basically attempts to have GARO last, because the first series did not catch on very well. I think particularly because it ran late at night and no one really knew what to make of it, because it was basically doing like Kamen Rider or what Sentai does, but for adults. But it did get a cult following, and I also think toy sales were really good for it. Yeah, I know it's an adult show, but it has toy sales. But like, there's a lot of product stuff for GARO, and people really like GARO, and I think particularly the works of Keita Amamiya. And so it caught on and eventually would be revived in 2010 and has had a new series run every year. So yeah, that's my overview of this season. I think overall it's really good. It has its flaws, but I think for a first season it does a lot well, and what it does wrong it fixes in the next season. So yeah, until next week, guys, when we get to Beast of the Midnight Sun, I'm Zangetsu 134, and I thank you for coming along with me on this journey. And yeah, until then, take care.